We're live here on the amazing.com page, and we got a couple Amazon sellers here that have a really cool story. Cool thing is I still have the letter that I came home to after we did our most recent live event that they had written and kind of shared their story. And I was just blown away and like absolutely wanted to have them on this to kind of share exactly basically what they did. So just kind of give you the short version. They built a business and had no experience before selling on Amazon, built this business, and then were able to sell it for a good amount of money within just a couple years. They're back at it, building another business now, but they basically have had this kind of life-changing experience over the past few years. And they were, I was very blessed to sort of get a letter like this from them, thanking me for sort of impact that we had. And so I wanted to get them on here. I've heard a little bit about their story, but not the whole thing. And so I wanted to get them on here so they can share with you. So since we are live here on Facebook, if you have questions for them, I've got two monitors. I've got the one up here that I'm looking at that I can see them. And then I've got one down here where I can see your comments. So if you have comments or questions about how they've done this, we'll see if we can get them to answer a couple of them at the end. So first off, I would just like to introduce Leah and David. So thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, so what I would like to do is just kind of like, I guess first off, like, let's talk about now, like, just to kind of let people know, like, you basically just sold this business and had this kind of like life-changing financial experience. Like, how did that all happen? Like, how long ago was it when you sold your business?
So we officially, funds officially transferred August 1st, but that's actually an amazing story because we were in Las Vegas at the amazing conference, and we were at the very end of a 6-month process of selling the business. And they actually had a notary come and meet us at the Venetian on a lunch break to sign the paperwork. And then we flew back on Saturday, and then literally that Monday the funds transferred, and that was when we sold it.
So when website brokers were on stage and they said website closers, when they were on stage speaking and they said there's a couple here that's signing the paperwork to close their deal here at the Venetian, that was us. So we just came together and smiled. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so then that was, I guess, just now it's October. So that was just a couple months ago, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sweet. So now people, you basically built this business, you sold it for a good chunk of money. Like, let's go back in time. Like, let's talk about, you just started this business. How did you get started? Like, how did you start building this thing? Like, how did all that work? And I guess equally as important, like, what were you doing before you started this business?
Okay. Before we started, I was in medical sales, and Leah was a freelance graphic designer. And, we had started a couple of like service-based businesses and things, kind of pay off debt and all those things. But, we were really just kind of trading hours for dollars there, and kind of trying to figure out, even hiring people, you're still like managing people and all those things. So we'd read the 4-Hour Workweek, and we kind of knew that there was a better way to kind of make money while you sleep versus trading hours for dollars. So I'll let Leah tell about how she had a meeting.
Well, and one quick note on that, I think I think a lot of us entrepreneurial types are big Shark Tank fans. And so David and I, for the longest time, wanted to do a product.
We thought we had to
invent something. And we're like, well, we're not inventors. And so that was kind of a roadblock for us. So I was a freelance graphic designer. One day I was at a meeting at Starbucks with a client, and she had these like skincare products that she made. And we were going over, I was going to do a new logo and packaging for her. And I said, well, why don't you sell your products on Amazon? And she said, well, Amazon's very difficult to get on. I've heard it's hard. And I said, like, for the first time, or even had that thought, I thought, well, I've always wanted to sell products on Amazon. I'm a Amazon Prime member. That sounds awesome. So literally that day, drove home, Googled selling products on Amazon, and you and Jason Katzenbach showed up with the horse video. Remember the horse? Sure you do.
That's a while back.
Yeah.
We doing anything to get people to watch back then.
I think it was like Amazing Money Machine or something like that.
I don't know. Well, no, it was ASM. But anyway, so we actually saw that video, and I showed it to David, and then we found some other experts in the area. And interestingly enough, we actually launched our first product before we took any courses. we found a powder that was in demand. And so David sourced the powder out of Canada. I designed some labels. We sourced some jars, and we had the components shipped to our house. And literally, we're like measuring and weighing
like scooping stuff out of a bag into a jar.
Then we had shrink wrap bags that we had our own heat guns, and we hand like shrink wrap.
Well, first we're putting like the labels on, and the labels like we're putting them on by hand, and they're like all crooked and wrinkled. And
I've been there before, believe it or not.
Yeah, and so we didn't even go to like China or anything. We literally just like hand assemble these products, sent them into Amazon, had some success. Started with our second product, which we did source from China, and then we realized we had kind of come to the limit and wanted to know more. And that's at that point we signed up for the course, and then just went gangbusters from there.
By the time we went to the first conference, like kind of the conference that they have after the course or whatever, we were doing $35,000 in monthly revenue with what, 4 products?
Yeah,
with 4 products.
So yeah, that's actually how we got started.
And so I guess to flash forward a little bit from there, after building, the first brand we started 3 years ago, and that was the one where we were talking about, we were hand filling everything. And a lot of it was even done in our garage by friends, that wanted to make a little extra money for a while until we finally started using a co-packer till we got bigger. And then we started another brand. So a year later, we started a second brand. And that was after a Vegas conference.
Yeah, that was actually during one of your conferences also. We were so inspired that we went and had dinner at Giada's, and we just like mapped out our first 10 products and launched the second brand. And that brand was the brand that ended up doing like the bulk of our sales. So I think like our last full year, that brand alone did about, 2.3 million in sales. Mm-hmm. And then the first brand was doing about $500,000 a year in sales.
So when you sold your business, did you sell multiple brands together, or?
Yeah, we tried.
We kind of made a mistake where we had like one Seller Central account for both brands instead of separate.
Okay.
When we started, we weren't thinking about selling them.
We had no idea.
We didn't know that they were sellable. We didn't really know anything about that,
But we.
Yeah. In fact, we started it. The second one did so well that the first one became kind of like the stepchild. It was like we didn't really spend as much time on that one, as we should have or could have. We just kind of let it kind of, set by the side, just because it was just so automated, it just made money.
Yeah.
While we focused on the big one, and that key point is probably one of the things for our success is, you've shown so many different things, and I think one of the things that we've been really good at, there's so many people out there promoting like different things and different tools and all these different things that you can use and stuff, but at the end of the day, I think what we were really good at is we were really good at narrowing our focus down to the most important things, the whole 80-20 rule, and not being distracted. We coach some friends right now that are starting getting started, and we see how easy it is to get distracted. Oh wait, like squirrel, and they'll be focused, and then all of a sudden they see something else and they're over here, and we're like, no, just go back here. This is where you should put your focus. And I see that with so many people, just across the board, that just have a really hard time just focusing on I guess it's probably one of the best tips that we can give people is focus on the things that are going to make you money. Like focus on the big things. I knew a guy that went to, bought like every mastermind, every tool, bought Ezra's website template, bought like everything. And he spent all of his money on that. And then he had all the stuff, like, all the tools that he could use, but didn't have any money left over for like inventory, scaling, and all those things. And it's like, what good is that? So I think we're living proof that you need to bootstrap it, and you want to bootstrap it, you can. If you need to budget and to, not be able to take a vacation or do whatever it takes to kind of put money into it to grow it, it can be done. And sometimes I guess our biggest annoyance that we get, from people that we meet in the industry is just the negativity. I look at Facebook pages or whatever for the different groups that I follow. What I can't stand is like, oh, this doesn't work, or oh, this is a scam, and all this stuff, and oh, you can't sell on Amazon. It's too hard. Too many things are changing. You can't do it anymore. you know, the time has passed. And I just get really annoyed at that, because it really kind of deflates other people. And I think if there's anything that we can say to people, it's like, if you focus on the large things and use the 80-20 rule and don't get distracted, and you know, and just keep pushing through the obstacles. When you hit an obstacle, just go around it. And that's probably the biggest tip that we can give people is just keep pushing day by day, because you're not going to, it's like eating an elephant, you know, you eat it one bite at a time. If you look at the whole big thing, it's really overwhelming. But if you focus today, have something that you do that puts you closer to your goal, then you'll hit it.
Yeah. So I'd like to get into like, you know, because I think, you know, you've said some great things. Like, one is doing something every day. That's important. The other thing is like really focusing your efforts. So I'd like, in just a second, I'd like to get into kind of like, what is it that you think is important to spend your time on, or what did you spend your time on, even better? You know, what is it? Because a lot of people have had access to the same tools, the same resources. We all have access to Amazon. Like, what is it, the things that you focused on? Like, ideally, the more nitty gritty, the better. Like, what are the actual things that you did that you think helped grow your business to the point where it was producing multiple millions of dollars per year and could be sold for a lot of money, which can sometimes be two different things, but you did both. And so, like, what are those things that you think made the difference that you focused on that most people don't, to keep growing sales, keep growing profits, and that kind of thing?
I was just telling you, I think I think, and there are several things, but I think looking back, I think there was this point, like this climactic point when you know, we realized, okay, we can do this as something that's going to make a little bit of money on the side and maybe pay some bills or whatever, you know, or we can do this to where it can be life-changing. And I think when we got to that point and, you know, we realized, you know, we wanted to just go all in, we decided, you know, we just kept saying, okay, let's do this. And let's, I think going deep and going wide is the thing that we just kept saying over and over again. So we took our foot off the brakes. And by going deep and wide, like what we mean is we decided to build a brand and go deep into that brand with launching as many products as we could afford. And we self-funded it and put the money back in to grow a brand. Because what we realized is, like, the cross-selling of each product, the customers who bought this also bought that, and how everything could be kind of linked together, how every product we got kind of built off of the other product. And by having the ability to build a brand that would cross-sell, and so building that brand deep with like variations and things like that. And then by going wide, by going into other markets like Canada and Europe and places like that, I think was one of the keys to our success of taking it from being something that is just going to make some money to pay some bills, or making it to where it's life-changing amount of money. And behind most of that, because I was out working in medical sales and stuff, you know, Leah was home, and so I was funding it, and Leah was doing most of the work. So I'll let Leah give her advice on.
Yeah. So for about a year, about 6 months after we started the business, we decided to start this plan called Bring Daddy Home. So David was very successful at his job. He was like rep of the year the last year right before he quit. And so what we did is we took all of the bonuses and we invested those in the company. But to answer your question, like, what did we do to make us successful? Well, number one, we constantly took action. So we were constantly doing things out of our comfort zone. So like, I feel like with new sellers or people that want to get into this business, the first thing you should focus on is just getting that product on Amazon. Because once you understand that skill set, I feel like it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating. So for us, we got some products up, and then what we did is we identified which products were successful. And so let's say, you know, you're selling a yellow Apple Watch band, right? And you're like, wow, I could sell this in blue or in gray, you know? And so, you know, finding different variations of the same product and just rinsing and repeating, that was like a way that we grew our product line. And the other beauty of that was everything was related. And so if we had a customer buy one of our products, it also, you know, this product was a complement to it as well. So we did a lot of rinse and repeat. It was identifying what was like the products that were making up, 80% of our revenue, and then how can we offer a similar product or a variation of that product to continue to grow the brand. So that was, I just think, like getting the product up and then rinsing and repeating that process.
Because you're not going to have every time you do a party, not everyone has been successful. We've had ones that didn't do nearly as well as the others. But what we did is we either just let that one run out or whatever, we didn't try to like throw more money at something that right. wasn't going to work or whatever. What we did is we would try ones, and ones that did well, we would put more into that one to either market it more or to create other variations of that. And so, I think that's when I was talking earlier about like going deep and wide and stuff, creating a cohesive brand. I see some people that just like, and some people even teach this out there that, take whatever's popular at the moment, do a fidget spinner and then do a Bluetooth speaker and do all this stuff. And you click on their brand and you see all these different things and they're not a brand. They're not creating a cohesive brand that you can cross sell. And really it's not going to be a sellable brand. In our opinion, what we're doing now is we're growing these businesses to sell them. We didn't start out that way, but now we've started 3 new brands. We want to sell them within 2 years. And so we realize, I can go into a little bit of that. The reason that we want to do that, because people ask us like, why do we want to sell these businesses? Why not hold on to them and it'd be a continuous revenue maker? The reason for us is that when you do the math, and there's different books out there like Profit First, where you take the profit for yourself, put the rest into your business. If you take that 15%, let's say of $1 million, and that's $150,000, you're able to sell your business for like a 4-time multiple, on your profits. That's $4 million or whatever, But the amount of time that it'll take you to save up $4 million, if you're keeping 15%, keeping $150,000 for yourself every year, I mean, that's going to take you a long time to save up that money. Whereas you can cash out now and you can have that money and then you can rinse and repeat and do it again. Just like the whole philosophy of taking a successful product and creating variations. That's what we're doing. We're taking a successful business model and then selling it, and we're doing it again.
Yeah, taxes are a big part too, because like if you're just taking taxes as like income, like depending on your tax bracket, you could be paying like 40%. But then like if you're selling your business, obviously depends where you live and all that stuff. But like long-term capital gains is like 15 to 20%.
Yeah, and they call it, there's so much blue sky or whatever, what do they call it, like good faith or something like that. It's basically you're selling air at the end. And so
it's good air.
but you're so that's the reason that we want to grow these. And so we've changed our whole philosophy of, we want to grow good cohesive businesses that are attractive to a buyer, that are good businesses that are growing, and sell them to private equity groups or whatever. And because we know that if we can do that, within like, let's say you get a 4.7, we got a 4.7 multiple on our money. And so if you take, the next 4.7 years or whatever, if we can do this 2 more times in the next, 4.5 years or whatever, we'll be set.
Yeah. Awesome. So, a couple things is like, you're mentioning that you're kind of like rinsing and repeating, you're launching new products. Like for any new product that you get live, like what do you actually do like to get that thing selling?
Well, it's interesting because that you asked that question, because we realized we were really spoiled with our previous businesses because we had an email list that we had built up. And so anytime we launched a new product, we could just launch it to our email list and offer a coupon and get people to buy it and review it. I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but we're launching 3 new brands and a few of our products just went live. And so I think it's a little more challenging for us now because we're starting over and we don't have the audience to utilize. And so what we do is we get like 2 or 3 reviews to kind of get the, gears oiled and get people comfortable. And then we will do a promotion or run ads to get people to buy the product. And then we have a very specific follow-up sequence that we do using a program, I don't know if you care, I mentioned, called Feedback Genius. And basically, this is a great tip that we learned with, Simon Sinek, Start With Why. So we read that book, watched that TED Talk. And we really focus on making a personal connection with our brands. So for example, we had this pivot point with our previous business where we started getting a ton more reviews. It was right around the time where Amazon changed the terms of service where you could no longer give away a product in exchange for a review. So what we did is we put together this little letter, and I wrote a very personal letter in the follow-up sequence that says, hey, my name's Leah. I'm a mom of 2. My husband and I run this family business. We are launching this new product and we're really anxious to get your feedback. And we come across like very vulnerable, like, can you really help us? We really want to know what you think, and ask them for a review. And then once we start getting those reviews in, more reviews and advertising equals more products, and you just start to stoke the Amazon algorithm and get your products ranked better. And so I think, I guess the key points would be getting a couple of reviews from, people you know, or people that you know that Amazon's not going to know that you know. And then to kind of like get the juices
Nobody
flowing.
wants to be the first reviewer.
Nobody wants to be the first reviewer. So you just get like one, then people will feel more comfortable, like, oh, this person liked it. And then just having a really good follow-up sequence for people that buy your product, and then, just going from there. Obviously, another important component is just having amazing photos. David is like the king of detail page optimization, keyword optimization. All those things are critical to like making a product successful. But did that answer your question?
No, yeah, that's perfect. And so, like, just to kind of recap, like, I guess with your brand that you had before, like, I guess you had started building an email list. And so each time when you launched a new product, you could basically email those people because it's in a related market. They're probably going to like that product too. And you got some Amazon ads going. You're getting reviews likely from the email list once you have that. Then you got your sort of like automatic follow-up sequence through Feedback Genius. So there's one managed by stats, good photos. And then I got a couple like follow-up questions, I guess, because, a lot of people have different strategies. Like, there's no one way to do this business. Some people are like, I've never run a single ad, and they have a multi-million-dollar Amazon business. And other people are like, we don't even have a Facebook page, and they have a multi-million-dollar Amazon business because they're very methodical and organized about how they run ads. And so, like, for you all, how was like social media much of a factor at all, or was it kind of an afterthought?
I think for us, like, we had 10,000 Facebook followers on our previous brand, our big brand.
Yeah.
We just did that running a $5 a day campaign for like 6 months or something, like our page. But it depends on what your goal is, right? So I think for some people, it's just focusing on Amazon, and it's just getting Amazon going and getting those products going on Amazon and popular. And so why does Facebook matter, right? For us, I think David and I always thought we want to make a sellable company. So we were looking at different channels. We got our products into retail channels, actually following a course that you put on, Retail Profits, a long time ago. But and so we were focused on creating an attractive company for a potential buyer. And so I think when you have that particular goal in mind, you're looking for different things to add value. So you're looking for a social media following, you're looking for multiple channels that you sell on. But if you're not interested in selling your company, then I would say do what you're good at, is when it comes to marketing.
Okay. And then like, I know you mentioned that David did a lot of work with like optimizing the listing and keyword optimization. Like, do you have anything there that you think was kind of unique that most people don't do?
Yeah, I have a couple. I would say one thing, and maybe a lot of people do this, I don't know, but so we had we were in AMS, the Amazon Marketing Services or whatever, where you give them one of your products, and if people don't know what it is, it's basically where you let Amazon sell one of your products, and then they give you access to their ads. They just added the headline search ads to the regular Seller Central account, but you didn't used to have access to that. You could only have access to that through AMS. And so you've got sponsored ads, you've got your product display ads, and you got your headline search. And so one of the things that I did was, I would go through and I would put, and there's other tools out there where you can do this kind of reverse ASIN, search type of things. I know Helium 10 and some different ones have stuff like that. But basically what I did is I just used AMS and put in all of my biggest competitors, all the page one people that were the highest ranked. And then when you put them in for like, the ads, what it does is it basically gives you all of the keywords that, basically that they're using for the most part, or ones that it's suggesting for you to use to show up on their page or to compete with them or whatever. And so then I just copied and pasted those out of there and I put those into a spreadsheet, and I use merchant words to search the search volume for each one of those. And then I just sort it and rank it. And then I create my detail page, my title and my bullet points and description, going down my list of keywords where I just use the ones that have the highest search volume all the way down. I use the highest search ones in my bullet or in my title, and then the next in my bullets, and the next in the description. And I write my whole, everything around those words, and just put them in those order.
Okay, awesome.
In that order. I would say there's another one that I learned from using, one of the companies that will run your ads for you and kind of clean up your sponsored ads for you. And one of the things I learned from them that even our Amazon rep, didn't think about, because they give you an Amazon rep, you get to a certain size, and our Amazon rep for sponsored ads, I was going over what this company that we hired, it was, I can say is PPC Scope. It was their guys, it was Brian Johnson's guys. And they did a great job. And basically one of the things that they did was they, something I didn't think about, they used a single keyword for phrase match in the sponsored ads.
Yeah.
And whereas most people put a phrase, because that's what a phrase match is, they'll put like 2 or 3 words in there. And they used a single word, and you didn't have quite as high of a search volume, but the ACoS when they did that was like, so low. It was like, 5%, 6% or whatever. And it converted so well, you just throw as much money as you could at those. And even though you don't need as many people, for some reason, it just converted so well that it really made sense. You weren't really wasting any dollars. Mm-hmm. And so using a single word and phrase match, is a nice little small tip. And then using AMS to find, your competitors' search, keywords is kind of a good way to do it too.
Right. Awesome. Perfect. So if you're sort of handling that side of things, Leah's handling graphic design, how is everything else in the business sort of like run before you sold it? Like, did you have other people working for you? Like, who's doing customer service? Like, who's talking with suppliers and stuff?
Well, first I want to say that as a husband and wife team, it's really important that you get out of each other's way. And so it took us a while to figure out, like, here's what Leah's good at and here's what David's good at. So when
I just try to get out of Leah's way.
When David talks about on-page optimization, like my eyes start to glaze over. And so obviously that was a great fit for him because I'm not interested in it. And when I talk about images and packaging, like I get really excited. And so one of the tips I think for new sellers is like, do what you're good at and contract out what you're not good at. And so what we did is we used Upwork and we hired a social media person. We hired a customer service person that handled all of our Amazon inquiries, returns, any of that. We hired people in Europe because we wanted to get like really quality translations for the different marketplaces like Germany, France, Italy, Spain. So we hired like people through Upwork to do the page translations for us. We hired people to do the website coding and things like that. I did a lot of the websites because that's what I used to do. But so we always are looking for areas that we can freelance out to somebody. And I think that was like one of the amazing things that we discovered, and I feel like a lot of people still aren't aware of, is that it doesn't have to be expensive to have people working for you. I think the traditional thought is, oh, well, I need to hire an employee. and it's going to cost me $60,000 a year or whatever. But there are people all across the world that you can hire through Upwork that are really good at what they do. And you know, paying them like $6 to $10 to $15 an hour is like great work for them. Like they're excited to go to work for you. And so we developed just like a team, like customer service, social media, and then whatever gaps we needed filled in. Like right now, we're trying out like using a sourcing agent. We'd never done that before. We just sourced everything ourselves on Alibaba. And so I think it's really exciting that you can scale this business and it doesn't have to be expensive. Like we've always run super lean.
I think the other thing with that is like if you do this to, I guess two things. One is we're big believers on not trading your hours for dollars or whatever, you know. So if there's so many places in this business that your time can be more well spent on, you know, growing the business or increasing your pipeline, you know, like adding more products to your pipeline and picking good products, and there's so many things that our expertise are needed more rather than like responding to customer reviews and things like that. So hiring people, it might seem, especially when you're starting out, you don't need it maybe at the very beginning, but I would say as soon as possible, as soon as you can, I think hiring a marketing person that will handle your email campaigns, your social media, and all of those things for you, and then hiring a customer service person. I think those are two of the most important positions, because you don't need to be spending your time like staying up late, like, you know, responding to customer reviews and things like that. And honestly,
Maybe you'll just get angry.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like it because when people are like, "Oh, this is crap" or whatever, you know, I'm like, no, it's not crap. I worked really hard to make that crap, you know. And so, you know, it's almost better for me to, like, at least personally, for me to like not be staring at reviews all the time, because it just deflates you, you know, if it's negative. And so I'd rather somebody else do that and let them take care of it and train them really well to where they're really personable to our customers and really good to our customers and stuff, and let them handle that. I don't want to be spending a bunch of time like creating Facebook ads. I'd rather just train people to do that and to do the split testing and stay on top of that, so we can focus on building the brand.
And one quick tip on and hiring subcontractors is what we did is like our first brand, we kind of learned what all the problems were. You know, we got feedback from customers, negative reviews, and we put all that in like a frequently asked questions in our SOP. And so it says, if somebody asks this question, respond with this. And then we just gave that to our customer service person. And once they learned the basics, they could add to that list and they could just respond without bothering us. Like we just allowed them to do refunds because they kind of had a manual to follow. And it sounds so like, to put together a customer service manual sounds so sophisticated, but really it was just like, if somebody asks this question, respond with this, or give them
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people like, you know, that have, you know, say $10 million like physical products businesses, and they're like super fancy, like customer service, like manual, or their like documentation or whatever they call it, is literally just a set of Google Docs with like not even fancy formatting in there. It's literally just like questions and answers, and then like it doesn't have to be that complicated. It just needs to be like accessible.
And one of the things we do is we have in the previous business, we had our customer service, like, you know, keep track of those questions and their responses and stuff. And that really creates like a great manual for if you need to hire another customer service person, for, you know, if that person leaves, or if you get rid of that person, or if they take advantage of you or whatever, you know, it's like you're kind of having them create your manual. And that's one of the things we did that was really nice when we had other people step in, was, you know, if they put all the questions and their responses in there, it creates your own manual.
Cool. So I had one more question, then we'll see what questions other people have. What was you all sort of like philosophy on pricing? Were you all trying to build in like a good margin there? Like, was it premium price? Was it kind of like middle of the road, or like, how did you all think about that?
Pricing is an interesting one, because it can be answered in several different ways, but one really important factor is to try to put a unique spin on your product. Because if you're doing a silicone spatula and somebody else is doing a silicone spatula and you have no differentiating factor, it's just a price war to the bottom. So we tried to create products where there was something like unique. So maybe if it's that powder, we put a scoop in that powder and we send them like 10 free recipes. So we're always looking to do a value add with each of our products and not just make it a generic replication of what somebody else did. Like people that sell iPhone cases, I don't even know how they do that, because it would be like really hard to like differentiate yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then we found, we have had over 40 products that we've sold on Amazon. So some of those products would do $35,000 a month, and some of them would do like $2,000 a month. And what we found was it's really important for margins to have products that are like $20 to $40. Like that's where you're going to make your money, because Amazon takes such a big chunk on those smaller size products. Like I always say, start out with like a $15 product, but always have a goal of doing like a more expensive product, because the margins just increase exponentially as the price of the product goes up because of the way Amazon's business model is set up.
Yeah.
I say products 20 to 40 are like the sweet spot. In addition to that, I think products that have a higher barrier to entry will also allow you to have more control over pricing. So if you're sourcing a product that costs like $1 a unit, there's going to be a lot of competition for that product. But if you source a product that's like $15 a unit, all of a sudden it's going to be a much more level playing field, because not everybody's going to be able to afford to buy 1,000 units that are $15 each. So yeah. Those are some key points for me. What would you say, honey?
I think, I don't know, I kind of blanked on what was the question.
What do you
just kind of like follow up, like, related to like competitors, like where were you all priced related to competitors in your market?
Yeah. Well, what's really funny about that is I can see a squirrel out the window, so it really is like squirrel. Sorry, the squirrel's gone. As far as pricing, I think me and Leah always kind of had different views on that, I always wanted to sell like for the highest price possible. I always wanted to find the top. Leah was always like, but if we price it cheaper, we'll get more sales and stuff. And really, even when we had competitors, I tried to price like even above them sometimes, because I felt like, if you do a good job with packaging, we have a great graphic designer here and stuff, if you really spend the time in the beginning to, create listings that look really nice and pictures that look great and that are just like as perfect as you can get them, and the packaging that looks awesome, you can charge a premium price, and it's up to you to kind of test to see like where that is. It might be higher, than what people are currently offering, what your competitors are offering right. for. But the weird thing about Amazon customers is that there is no logic. There really isn't. There's no logic to people that buy on Amazon, because I know like when I'm looking for a phone case and I see one that's for $5, I think that's probably going to fall apart in like a week or whatever, I'd rather buy the $40 case, because I think that's probably going to be made better. So I think maybe that's what it is sometimes. So I just try to charge as much as possible, and I see how it goes, and I do the best I can to like market it and really give it a true like test. And then I can go down from there if I need to. Sometimes what we found, and what you might have found too, is for some of our products, when we would start running out of stock, and we realize now it might not be the best way to do it is to increase your price as you're running out of stock necessarily. But we would increase our price, and we would find that it started selling faster, and we're like, wait, before another minute, so we'd increase it more, and it would keep selling. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of like proof that, don't try to have a race to the bottom. Try to differentiate your product to where you're different enough from everyone that you can charge whatever you want, and then see if people buy it. And if they don't, you can move it down a little bit, but don't try to go cheap just to sell more volume, because then you're right. What you'll find, and just a quick story, when we used to have a photo booth business, we didn't discount it in the first year, and we did like 50 events, and the next year we discounted it, and we did 100 events. But at the end, when we added up our revenue, we made the same amount the second year that we did. We just worked twice as hard.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of I think a good story that tells you, you don't have to go cheap and stuff. You know, if you sell 10 units for $20 versus 20 units for $10, you know, you're still, you know, it's better to do less work with reordering and all of that stuff.
And one quick amazing tip that has been worked really well for us on finding products is I call it like category shopping. So let's say your category is sports and outdoors. Like I would literally physically go to Dick's Sporting Goods and walk around the store and make a list of products, and then go back on Amazon and check what the BSRs were, what the competition was like. You know, if you're going into baby, go to the baby store. If you're going into the beauty, go to Sephora. And so I feel like that has been a way for us to really find products that nobody else is doing, because everyone's just shopping online, right? But nobody is like physically going to the stores and getting ideas from there versus like trying to follow some, you know, online strategy. So that worked really well for us.
So let them do the marketing for you, because they'll make certain products popular, or people will see them. Look for the best positioning on the shelves, like the eye level or the end caps and things like that.
Or ask the manager, like, oh, what is this? Is this a big seller for you guys? And then go look it up on Amazon and see if it could be a good product.
That's how we found like probably 90% of the products for our large brand is we didn't look at the competition on Amazon, and we went made a list and took pictures of ones at the store and then compared them on Amazon.
So now every time David goes shopping, I get like 20 texting, hey, look this up on Amazon.
That's interesting. I've never heard that one before. That's
really
crazy. That was like 90% of your products came that way.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Cool. So we got some questions here. So one big one that everyone keeps asking is, this is recorded. It's automatically recorded. You don't have to worry about that. It'll be available right here after. We had one here. See if I can find it. I lost it. But anyways, I know the question is basically like the multiple that you all were able to sell your business at. I think you said 4.7. And that was based on what? I mean, I know the answer, but they want to know the answer.
Yeah. So our revenue for the last full year we were in
business. They call it EBITDA.
EBITDA, earnings before tax, amortization, and something else.
Yeah.
Was $835,000 in profit, and then that times 4.7 was $4 million. So we sold the business for $4 million.
Cool. And that basically means like all your overhead, like except for like paying your taxes and things like that is you know, really what EBITDA is at the end of the day. So that's before your taxes come out.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's important for people to know, because a lot of times, like, I mean, depending on the business, like some people sell businesses based on revenue and crazy stuff like that, but like you're selling a physical products business, like it's pretty much like going to be based on your like cash flow or EBITDA, and it's like 3 to 5x. So awesome for you all. Looks like you all kind of got the high end of that range, which is cool, which maybe is because like you all had selling in multiple channels and that kind of thing. So that's cool. But yeah, so that's pretty standard for people that sell this kind of business, is it's based on the amount of profit you're actually bringing in. So you kind of throw back in your salaries and whatever else somebody else could expect to kind of be able to take out of this business. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you get paid off of, which is also interesting, which means that like this whole time before you're selling it, you're actually making profit in the business, which is cool. It's not like you're just like, you know, don't have any money coming in. You're just waiting to the moment you sell it. Like you're making good money and then you sell it and you sort of have a big pile of cash instead of this dripping.
Exactly.
We waited 2 years before we took any profit out of the business. And so we just put everything back into the business to grow it as quickly as possible. One thing I would give as a tip of anybody that wants to sell their business and things, you know, the way we're doing is, I guess one is make sure you automate. Go back to like what we were talking about hiring people and be willing to delegate things out and automate as much as you possibly can. You basically want to replace yourself. When you sell your business, you're more than likely, unless you keep a stake in it and you're going to still advise them or something, you know, you're more than likely not going to be involved in the business anymore. And, you know, you want your buyer to understand that you have trained people that replace you. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't need you. You have people that do everything that you do, you know, and so you don't want them to feel like, you know, you're the reason that the business makes money. You know, you have a team and they get that team.
And have a bookkeeper.
Yeah, it's everyone's favorite part of the business.
Well, we didn't get a bookkeeper until, we started in 2014, and we got a bookkeeper January of 2016. So we had to pay our bookkeeper to go back in 2015 and take my awesome Excel spreadsheets and put those in like legit accounting documents so that when we went to sell the business, we could show books for 2 years. So, but you can get online sources like Xero, which is spelled Xero. Yep. That will actually like directly talk to Amazon and get all of your sales and everything. And there's some great programs out there that we should have used from the beginning, but we didn't.
And sorry, I just want to make sure I get this through. Whatever the so going back to like the first thing is like automate. If you want to sell a business, like automate as much as possible and hire people. Contract people. They don't have to be expensive. I'd say the next thing is to have a cohesive brand instead of a bunch of products that are all over the place in different categories. And so grow as large of a brand. And the third thing is try to be in as many channels as possible.
Once you get going.
Online, it's not as hard to get into online retail stores. It's a little bit harder to get on the shelves of stores. And it's almost better for you to get into online versus the shelves because there's just a lot more pains and stuff with being on the shelves. Try to get in the online stores, try to get as many Amazon markets as you can, US, Europe, Canada, wherever else, Japan, and all those different ones. And so try to diversify, your product, your channels.
Yeah, great. So Paul here says, you mentioned that you had multiple brands. Did you have separate Seller Central accounts or did you have separate brands inside your Seller Central account? I know you mentioned this earlier, but maybe you missed it, I guess.
Yeah, we had separate brands inside of one Seller Central account. So when we went to sell the company, it made it very difficult to separate them out. So if you are thinking of like selling your company down the road, I would highly recommend getting separate Seller Central accounts.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what was the other question? Oh yeah, somebody asked, I lost this question too, because they keep coming in, but like somebody asked, what's a typical startup cost? Like we've given this answer a lot, but for you all situation, like way back in the day, what did you all start with?
So I think we started with I want to say like a
$500.
$500. Think about it. We were literally like jars, powder, label, heat gun. So it was pretty bare bones, but I think because I was able to design like a pretty cool label, it looked more legit than it. But yeah, we were our own manufacturing line, so we started pretty lean, and then from there, we did have to start to invest more money. So once our product started to take off, let's say you have a $5 product and you order 200 units, that's $1,000. Clearly, math isn't my strong point. But once that product starts to scale and the demand comes and you want to order like 5,000 units, then that's when you really have to start investing more into the company. But we were never able to get a bank loan. We had to use all David's.
We had to bootstrap it completely.
Yeah, bonuses.
And because
they thought we were crazy.
One is they didn't believe us. They're like, no way business can grow that fast, and they just didn't understand it. And the other is we were such a young company. At the time we were less than 2 years old or whatever when we wanted to get a loan, and they wanted that second year of taxes to even consider us or whatever. And so I would say that to answer your question about the amount, my oldest brother just asked this question, and I think depending on the cost of your product, I would say you probably want at least like $5,000 because what people don't think about is they think, oh, well, the order is only like $2,000 and why do I need more? Yeah. But the thing is, if your product does well, you got to think about that. If it does well, you're going to want to turn on sponsored ads. You're going to need more inventory. I can't count the number of times, even with us, we feel like we know what we're doing, but our worst thing that we've lost so much, we've missed out on so much revenue from running out of inventory. Yeah. And when you're bootstrapping and you're putting that money back in, you got to account for that. So try to save up, or, earlier Leah was talking about $20 to $40 products. Not everybody can start off with that, and right. The thing is, if that's all you have is just enough to get that first order, you gotta have a little bit more, because you're going to, if it does well, which, if you do all the things right, it will, then you're going to need, you're going to have to put all the money you make on that first order back into it, but you're going to need more money than what you just got out of that, because you're going to need more inventory for that second order and more inventory for the third order.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, cool. That's an awesome story. Starting with $500 with this thing. So we're about out of time here, but I guess just one last thing. It's kind of like, just so everyone knows, This whole thing is going to be recorded, so don't worry. I did kind of ask them, because they are Amazing Selling Machine members. I think most people probably on here are familiar with Amazing Selling Machine. I kind of asked them, like, let's just focus on the content, on their story. It's not like supposed to be a testimonial for ASM, but just kind of like, last thing I want to ask is, with Amazing Selling Machine, because you all are members, you did go through it. That's kind of a part of how you got started. Like, what is your, I'm trying to say the best way to put it. Like, what was your sort of your experience with that? And like, how did it help you along the way?
Oh man, I mean, we like pretty much devour all the content that you put out. We took Amazing Selling Machine in the fall of 2014, and taking the course, I mean, it was so well laid out. It was step by step. People constantly ask us, oh, can you help me start an Amazon business? And I'm like, there's already an amazing course there. Like, I can't teach you into the level of detail that you'd be able to get from Amazing Selling Machine.
Well, we have a rule, like, don't ask me any questions until you've taken the course. I don't want to be like, how do I set up my Seller Central account? No, that's not, I don't want to teach you that.
Talked a lot about when we had some other businesses that we started, but we never had any direction. And what's amazing about the Amazing Selling Machine is it gives you the complete blueprint from start to finish. And then there's additional training. For example, we mentioned Amazon Marketing Services. We took a Mike McClary course to learn how to get into AMS. And so, it's just the initial training, the additional training. We're going back through the courses now just to make sure there's not new things that we haven't learned, like giveaways. We're like, oh, we need to go back through ASM 7 so that we can learn how to do giveaways. And so we're always coming back for more content. And that's one of the ways that we've become successful, is just constantly learning and the course. I mean, if we hadn't taken the course, I don't know if we would have been able to scale it to this level.
And that's why.
And the conferences, which are amazing.
Well, and that's what we're saying in the letter and stuff too, is that, for us, this was life changing. What it did, the biggest priority for us was to spend more family time. Because I think that's what's most valuable, is spending that time together. And I was gone like 4 nights a week or whatever in sales, and I'd get home and we have 2 small kids, a 4-year-old and an 18-month-old now, but they were even smaller then. And they'd be like, they would change. It'd be so different. I was missing out on so much. And so that's why we call it Operation Bring Daddy Home. So the fact that we're able to spend unlimited time together as a family and stuff.
Because of just something you put up on YouTube.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's not only life-changing for us. That's going to be life-changing for them and all that quality time that we get to make memories together and stuff. So that's why we wanted you to make sure that you know how much we appreciated it, because this isn't just like a side thing for us. This was really life-changing for us, and plus allows us to leave a legacy, for our kids and on down the line.
So when we say, it changed our lives, it's not like some cheesy line. Like it really did. Like the idea that you put together initially years ago of private labeling products and selling them on Amazon, that idea that you put out there, that we followed, like it gave us an opportunity. And it is just that, it's an opportunity. It's not like guaranteed. It's not a get rich quick scam. Yeah. But sometimes in life, if you're open and you're searching and looking to achieve like a bigger goal, you're just looking for an opportunity. And I feel like for us, it was the opportunity, that we were waiting for.
That's amazing. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you all coming here. Obviously, you all no sort of reason. You weren't paid to be here, any of that sort of stuff. You came here just to kind of help some other people out. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
And Matt, one thing I wanted to say, I know Leah won't do it, but I want to give a shameless plug for Leah's book. She just wrote about it. It's hashtag Mom Life Inc.
Cool.
And, it basically kind of tells the story and stuff of how she was able to build this while I was
3 hours a day. So when we were building the company, I only had 3 hours a day while my daughter was in preschool and David was traveling, and then I worked nights. And so the book is kind of like, what are the principles for our success? Because so many people have taken the ASM course, for example, or had different opportunities, but they weren't successful. So I was like, why were we so wildly successful? So that's
how do you get the book?
You can go to Amazon and search Mom Life Inc. And
sweet. Awesome. So you had time to build a business and write a book and raise 2 kids.
She's a machine. She's been called like the mom machine.
Hey, I'm just trying to keep up with you, helicopter pilot.
That's another story. But yeah, Other than that, make sure you go. You know, they started with Amazing Selling Machine, likely probably watching the video series that we released for free. And so we have one of those that just started coming out at the end or the beginning of last week. And so we're on video 3, which just went live yesterday. Video 4 goes live, which is the last video in the series, goes live tomorrow, Wednesday at noon Central. So I'll post the link below, but it's basically just AmazingSellingMachine.com. Check out those videos, lots of downloads. We got 100 products you can start with, suppliers, all kinds of good stuff, a bit about the marketing process. So head on over there and get that. And yeah, just want to say thank you very much, Leah and David, and hopefully I'll see y'all soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Good seeing you.